I just finished season 3 of Castlevania, and Hector has got to be the most shafted character of everyone. Don't get me wrong, each and every character in the show has some kind of tragic backstory. Trevor being exiled and deemed a monster because of his blood when all his family did was help people, Isaac and his torture in his youth, Alucard in the extreme stress and toll that killing his own father has taken on him, along with losing his mother. But the one character we don't have much history on is Hector. Why, you may ask? This is because the story wants to focus on the shit they are throwing at him now. They have mentioned his past in small bits, but never expanding on it like with Trevor, or even showing us a flashback like with Isaac. They just make some quick mentions of it and move on. The tragic story of Hector begins in the second season of the Netflix Castlevania animated show, where he is drafted into Dracula's court as an advisor. I just bit my tongue. His trouble begins when the vampire Carmilla is instructed to help him and Isaac form a plan for the war. During the war council, Hector suggests taking Brela, which is a port town, so that no human can escape, and Carmilla supports this. This is where the manipulation of Hector begins. Carmilla basically injects the idea that taking Brela is his plan and that she supports it when she has plans of her own. With Hector taking the point on this suggestion, he is now technically to blame for the eventual betrayal, or at least that's what he's told later by Carmilla. Once they reach Brela, Carmilla's forces are waiting to take out Dracula's men and invade his castle, at which point Carmilla once again manipulates Hector by informing him that he has betrayed Dracula and he can no longer go back. Hector tries to argue back, but is shut down and decides to go with Carmilla. This portion of his story shows the weakness of his mind, that he is someone who can be taken advantage of. The only thing he feels after this is the guilt of betraying Dracula. Once Dracula's castle is gone, is when Carmilla shows her true colors to Hector. She beats him mercilessly until he's on the ground, bound up and bloody. Claiming that he is now her slave. They make the trek back to her castle in Styria with Hector in tow. Dragged some 800 miles across the land to arrive, Hector is thrown into prison naked and given a moldy piece of bread. At this point, Hector is physically broken, and they're not even done yet. The true emotional damage that occurs to Hector is when the 4 vampire sisters decide that at the current time, Hector won't help them because of the way Carmilla treated him, and Lenore offers her help. Lenore brings some fresh food down to Hector, offering him his first bit of kindness since arriving in the prison, but at this time, Hector is completely wary of her intentions. Albeit wary, he can't turn down the fresh food as he's only been eating rotten meat and moldy bread. Of course, the scene leads up to Hector trying to get free and getting his ass beat by Lenore as she throws a blanket on him to cover up with to finish the scene. Lenore comes back frequently to speak with him after this, getting to know Hector and letting him know her. Getting to the point where she asks him if he wants to go for a walkie. These are the parts that bother me the most. The way he is spoken to by Lenore is obviously in a poor manner, speaking to him as if he is nothing more than an animal, asking him to go for a walkie, calling him good boy, and putting him on a leash to take him for a walk. Everything about this is so obviously shown to us, and I think it's put there to intentionally bother us as it flies over Hector's head. I don't think it so much as flies over his head as there's not much he can do about it. But when they go back into the prison, Hector is brought to a new cell, one that is much larger, with hay as a bed instead of just a hard floor, and a desk for him to read at, along with books. Hector is extremely grateful for this, obviously hoping for a kiss as Lenore brings him in close to remove his collar. The seeds have been planted. Lenore has shown him kindness, kept him from being lonely, and seduced him. By this point, it is shown that she has made her way into his head. The next time we see them speak, Lenore makes her way into his cell to sit on his bed, falsely making herself available, talking about letting Hector go and possibly running away together. She quickly shuts down this option, saying that they can escape Carmilla, and either way, Carmilla's plan is the same that Hector wanted to begin with. One of the side speeches that really catches your attention with this is when Lenore is taking Hector on his walk. We get to see a conversation between Carmilla and Striga, where Carmilla says that if she didn't break Hector, Lenore wouldn't have anything to currently work with. This is a very common technique that was used in older day army with new recruits. When they were in basic training, the ideal was to break them down and then build them back up into the ideal soldier. And that's essentially what's happening here, but it takes a twist. Hector and Lenore start to consummate their love. And as they are, Lenore slides a ring on him it's a magic ring. It forces him to be a slave. The idea is that the night creatures he creates are loyal to him, and he has to be loyal to them, therefore the night creatures are theirs to control. Hector tries to speak up during this meeting, in which he is shushed and told that people are talking, among many other things that they use to degrade him. This following scene enforces the ideas that Hector is no more than a pet to them, and this shit sinks in. Hector was forced to betray his master and then leave him through manipulation. He was beaten and dragged just to be put in prison with shite food. And then he was once again manipulated to fall in love with Lenore, all the while being treated less than human, only to become a slave and betrayed by someone he fell for. Through the entirety of this story, Hector is beaten down repeatedly. I think out of everything that has occurred during these current 3 seasons, Hector has had the worst time. I mean, yeah, Alucard had to kill his own father, but that was kind of a one and done thing, and it seems like he's doing a little better now. But I am speaking only about the current run through, though, not flashbacks or past that have been told to us. The tragic story of Hector is made even more tragic with the way the story is told. We can all see it's coming. We know what's going to happen, but we have to sit there and watch it unfold. If you haven't watched Castlevania at all, or just season 3, I highly recommend it. The pacing of this show is amazing, and it just doesn't stop. Like, there's so many fight scenes that are just... The entire episode is a fight scene, and it's hype. Like, it just doesn't die down. The art is simply fantastic, and the way the characters are developed is even better. And I think that's one of the best traits of the show, the characters. They carry it so well. One of these days, I do want to talk about Trevor and Sypha. They are my favorite anime couple, but let me know if you'd like to see that. Also, let me know what you thought about Castlevania as a whole, Hector's tragic story, or even how you felt about the events of Season 3 in the comment section below.